Hello, class. Today we are doing GreenP 2.7. Okay? All right, let's begin. Here we are to write the decimal as a fraction or a mixed number in simplest form. All right, so let's look at the first one. Here we have 282 thousandths. So we acknowledge that we have 1, 2, 3 decimal places that follow the decimal sign, okay? So therefore, we have 282, and the 3 decimal places will represent a thousandth, okay? All right, now at this point, because 2 and 0 are both even, then we know that these two numbers can at least be reduced by 2. All right, when we reduce them, we recognize that this number becomes 141 and this number becomes 500. And we acknowledge that they are no longer even. This number cannot be reduced by any other number but a 10 or a 5 or 2. Okay? And this number cannot be reduced by a 10 nor 5 or 2. So therefore, it's over. Okay? Let's look at our next problem. Our next problem, we have 2 and 125 thousandths. So we acknowledge that the number in the ones place is a whole number. Okay, so that would be our whole number in our fraction. And we recognize that the numbers or the digits that follow the decimal point represents our fractional part. And so because we have 3 places that follow, then it is over 1,000. So we have 125 thousandths, okay? Now, from there, we recognize that it ends in a 5 and a 0, so therefore, these two numbers can be divided by a multiple of 5, okay? So we can do 5, or we can do 25. I think 25 is more our speed, so let's take a look. Divide this by 25. Divide this by 25. We recognize that 25 and 125 will give us 5. Okay? And then 25 and 1,000, and this first 100 is 4. That gives us 0. So it's 40. Oh, look at this, 5 and 40. But then a 5 and a 0, so still a multiple of 5. So this can be divided by 5, and this can be divided by 5, and we recognize that this becomes 1/8, and we have 2 whole. Okay? Let's move forward. Number 5. It says, write the decimal as an improper fraction in simplest form. Okay? Well, we did not cover this in class, all right? So I will cover all of these with you, okay? Remember, an improper fraction is when the numerator is larger than the denominator, okay? So therefore, in this case, we have the number, we use all of the digits, 7, 2, 5. But we acknowledge that there are only 2 places that follow the decimal point, so therefore, this will be our denominator, okay? That's how that is done, okay? So then you would simplify from there. Notice that we can simplify either by a multiple of 5, and so therefore, let's look at 25. If you divide this by 25, this by 25, okay? And we say how many 25s are in 725? So 9. Okay, that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. There it is. It's 9. Okay, this is 9, and this is 4. Okay. All right, let's get this one. Remember, we use all of the digits, but how many digits follow the decimal point? Only 2, so it would be over 100, okay? And remember, it asks us to just leave it in simple form, then ask us to convert to a mixed number. So now let's look at this. Here, both of these are even numbers, okay? And so then the question is, what can these both be divided by? If we can do 2, we could possibly do 4. Let's try 4. Because you're even, okay? And so how many 4s are in 5? 1 with 1 remaining. How many are in 13? 3 with 1 remaining. And how many are in 12? 3. Okay? And then 100 divided by 4 would give us 25. Okay? Let's look at 7. Again, we take all of our digits. How many numbers are behind the decimal point? 3 places. 1, 2, 3, and 1. Okay? And so now we are going to reduce this. Okay? And so the question is, we know it can be divided by 5. So let's go with dividing by 5. Okay? How many 5s are in 9? 1 with 4 left. How many in 45? 9. 0 left. So that gives us 0, 45, 9. And then how many 5s are in 1,000? We have 2 in the 10 and then 0, 0. Okay, and that's it. Okay. All right, let's look at here. All of the digits: 4, 1, 1, 8. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So we recognize that they are even. So let's divide by 2. Because I don't think we can do 4. So here we go. How many 2s are in 4? 2. How many in 1? 0. And down to 11. How many are in 11? 5 with 1 left. How many are in 18? 9. And then how many 2s are in 1,000? 500. And our problem is over. Okay? Now, let's take a look at number 9. Number 9 says you have 3 2/28 yards of fabric. The instructions for the project requires 3 2/5 yards of fabric. Do you have enough fabric for the project? And explain. Well, one fabric is in with the decimal, the other fabric is with fraction. Okay? To solve this, you need to either convert this to a decimal or this to a fraction. Since we're accustomed to taking our decimals and converting it to fraction, you want to take this and convert it to a fraction like we've been doing up here. Simplify it and then compare the two, and then you'll be able to answer this question accurately. Okay? Let's look at number 10. On number 10, so you finish this on your own. Number 10, you have to finish a race in 7/8 of the time you ran in the semifinals in order to win. Your semifinal time was 25 6/10. Excuse me. Write your semifinal time, this right here, as a mixed number in simplest form. Mixed meaning you have whole and then you have fraction. Okay? That's what we mean by mix, okay? Whole and then fraction, all right? So in this case, our whole part is 25, and our fraction part is 6, but it's 1 digit behind the decimal point, so it is 1 place, 6/10, okay? We must simplify this, so we divide them both by 2, so we have 25 3/5, okay? So we've written it and with a mixed fraction and in simplest form. Now let's look at B. B says, what does your time need to be to win the race? So it says you have to finish a race in 7/8 of the time you ran in the semifinals. So this is 7/8. Our of indicates a multiplication, and our semifinals is our number. Okay? All right. Now, because this is a fraction, this is a decimal, what we did here was we converted our uh, decimal into a fraction. So now we know how to do this from previous lessons. Okay? We know that 7/8 times 25 and 3/5. Okay? We know that in order to multiply a fraction, we must first have a fraction. This is a mixed fraction, so we need to convert this to improper so that we can multiply. So here we're going to say 7/8. This is 5 times 25 is 125 plus 3 is 128 over 5, and we're multiplying. Okay. Now we want to see, do we have, how can we simplify? Okay, in this case, we can simplify by 4. Excuse me. So this, how many 4s are in 8? 2. How many 4s in 128 would be 32. 5 and 7 have nothing in common, so let's multiply. Okay. 2 times 5 is 10. Excuse me. 7 times 32, 22. Okay, so now this can be simplified. All right. First of all, we see how many 10s. I could have simplified this a little more too. But let's work with what we got. How many 10s? We can find out how many 10s are in 224, and we find out that there are 22 with 4 left over. Okay? All right, and so now we simplify this by simplifying this by 2, and we have 22 and 2/5. That's the time that we need in order to win the race. See you in the morning.